Hello everyone, I'm Bottles and welcome to Releasing the Unreleased. Unreleased games have always fascinated me to my core. Not only do I find the concept of an abandoned project for a very popular franchise super interesting, but I also always think about how the franchise would have been affected if these games were to be released. I'm going to start off our series proper by going into as many unreleased Sonic games as I can, speculating how it would have affected future Sonic canon if these games were to be released. The game we will be talking about this week is something you may or may not expect: Sonic Sports. Seems like they had the idea for a Sonic and Sega All-Stars sports game for a long time before they actually went through with it. Sonic Sports was a game that was planned for the Sega 32X. Interestingly, there really isn't that much known about it. The only playable characters we know that were confirmed were Sonic, Tails, and Ristar. It would have had basketball, volleyball, and soccer as playable sporting events throughout the game. Apparently, it would have played like Acme Sports, but with Sega characters instead of Looney Tunes characters. That is exactly all we know about this game. So, what happened? The reason for Sonic Sports' cancellation has never been publicly stated, but there is some speculation as to why it never saw the light of day. The Sega 32X was a commercial failure of a console. Back in 1994, Sega released the 32X just months before the Sega Saturn was set to come out. Since the 32X was yet another Sega Genesis add-on just like the Sega CD was, consumers decided that it was just more worth it to wait for the Sega Saturn to come out, since that was going to be Sega's 3D console to rival the upcoming Nintendo 64. Promises of 3D Sonic games were more enticing than just the same old shit with another Genesis add-on. Apparently, development kits for the 32X also came out super late as well, giving devs barely enough time to develop games for it. This is probably why there weren't a lot of games for the 32X. Honestly, name me a Sega 32X game right now that isn't Knuckles Chaotix. I'll wait. That's what I thought. I don't think Sonic canon would really be affected at all, since this was meant to be nothing more than just a sports crossover spin-off. What I do believe, though, is that Sega would have been more comfortable creating more spin-offs for Sonic and the other Sega mascots way earlier than they would have in this timeline. We wouldn't have had to wait until Sega Superstars to get the first real Sega characters crossover. Remember Sega Superstars for the PlayStation 2? The game that used the iToy? I should stream iToy games someday. I wouldn't doubt that this game inspired future titles like Sonic and Sega All-Stars Tennis or Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. But as for the main story, nothing. That concludes this episode of Releasing the Unreleased. What did you guys think? Are there games that you want me to cover that have never come out? Put your suggestions in the comments below and let's learn about the wonderfully weird world of cancelled games together. If you want to see the next episode of the series, tune in next week, but if you're impatient, become a channel member to be able to watch the episode right now. Our social media are in the description below, as well as our merch store, and make sure to support the channel as much as you can. The more you support, the more I can eat. With that, I bid you, my well-esteemed guests, adieu.